it's just so chaotic that all the bad stuff just kind of eliminates the good.
There are important takeaways for both parties from 14 swing voters in Arizona that we focus grouped, starting with immigration. For Republicans, the lesson is that nearly all these swing voters are fed up with ICE overreach. For Democrats, the lesson is that if you call for abolishing ICE, you're totally out of step with what matters to these voters. Let's drill down first on the takeaways for Republicans. While just 2 respondents say ICE is getting things just right, the other 12 say ICE has gone too far.
There shouldn't be people getting killed. There shouldn't be people going after ICE agents. It goes both ways. But when they're shooting citizens, it's too far. Um, it's that's the part that I have a hard time with.
I saw pictures of, children being carted away, separated from parents, and then they were on their way to the ICE detention center. I was like, yeah, I think that they've really overplayed their hand on this matter.
Retaliation
Retaliation meaning what, Tony?
against anybody on the street that's trying to have a conversation with them or whatever they're trying to do. It's their retaliation is over the top.
Well, recently they were actually in my neighborhood. They were going door to door, knocking, asking the people. And I live in a 55 and older community, and they were trying to find like Asian people so that they could deport them. And so if that was gone too far, because they're elderly people and they don't need that, and they're just the show of force and power, and they don't follow any rules, and they do whatever they want. It's too much. It's way too much.
You don't know who's a real ICE agent, and you don't know who's just a bounty hunter, because had bounty hunters out too that were getting people and getting bounties for that for the ICE agents. So it's just a matter of people they're not identifying themselves, so you don't know who's who, and so that's why people are defensive, and then they're going into people's property and stuff without any warrants.
I think that them rolling into neighborhoods, not in uniform, a lot of them show up and look like, gangsters or in weird camo or whatever, and try and intimidate everybody just sets off a bad precedence.
9 of the 14 know someone personally who has changed their life out of concern for a possible interaction with ICE.
They're just afraid to go grocery shopping, with fears of running into ICE because, ICE is everywhere.
He can't work anymore. He's afraid to go outside.
My girlfriend's a teacher at a predominantly Hispanic school, and she's afraid that they're going to come on campus.
I know a bunch of Nigerians, and I know people who have been arrested, and it was like, oh, you look like someone that was illegal. And so it's like you have to almost like carry your passports just in case I look like someone who is here illegally.
The routine, no more trips to the grocery store. Those are out. Those are out the window. She doesn't go. It's for my sister, girlfriend's sister. She suggested her routine. She won't go out to eat anymore. So she's pretty much at her house all the time.
While there are clearly concerns about ICE overreach, abolishing ICE is entirely out of the question for these respondents. None of the 14, 7 independents, 4 Democrats, and 3 Republicans, support taking that step. In fact, none of them would vote for a Democratic candidate this year who called for abolishing ICE. Why do they say ICE is so essential?
We need to have them. We need enforcement. We work really hard for our money, and our money is going where it shouldn't go, and it's not fair for the ones that work.
By the votes that we just had, everyone's aligned to we need an immigration and custom control organization.
You can't have a country without borders, and someone needs to enforce that.
Can't keep letting people just come into the country illegally and not paying towards our country. All the other countries have borders that are very well protected, and yet the United States seems to let anybody in and let them stay without any repercussions whatsoever.
We showed respondents these 7 possible reforms for ICE. On screen, you'll see in descending order the total out of 14 who'd support each reform. You'll notice that holding independent investigations after incidents take place, as well as the wearing of body cameras, elicited unanimous support. At the bottom of the list, you'll notice pushback on prohibiting face coverings. Why the resistance to that?
They have a chance to be doxxed. They have families. Protesters wear masks. About protesters not wearing masks either. What do you got to hide? Well, they're not going to get doxxed like an ICE agent would if they find out their identity, especially with social media today, face recognition, AI.
For retribution against families, I think any type of officer, if they're in a situation like that, should, have the ability to protect their family.
There's considerable pessimism that Congress will take any action on these 7 items. Only 2 respondents thought anything will happen, and the rest said things like this.
I just feel if they try to take action, Trump will just shoot it down.
2 sides can't agree on them.
It seems like they're already trying to throw them under the bus. The agents under the bus are like backing away from responsibility for it already, and they're just trying to, just saying that it's the officers' faults, that they're doing the things that are bad, and they're just trying to distance themselves from just ICE itself, and they're not even taking accountability for any of the things that's going on. So why would they change if they're not even going to take accountability for it?
Transitioning to another topic, 9 of the 14 respondents say they are more anxious about the economy now than when President Trump took office. 3 say they are less anxious. 2 others report no change. Those who are more anxious now explain why.
I mean, nobody can find a job. My sister, who has a doctorate, hasn't been able to find a job in over a year, and she's a teacher. That the state of the economy just really sucks, and I don't see it going the other direction. It's going to get even worse and worse, and the environment's getting bad, and Donald Trump's not noticing any of this stuff. He just wants to keep splurging money everywhere.
I'm seeing everything spiral out of control, from people not being able to pay for basic things like air conditioning, heating their home, groceries. The cost of living has gone up. Employers are laying off like crazy. Businesses are closing like crazy. All the restaurants around me are closing. Malls are closing. It just is spiraling downward. There's nothing really other than gas prices that's positive lately.
Stuff has gone down a little bit, but the cost of living is still really high. We're not balancing out. We're not making more money. Everything is still pretty much the same. Now we're just actually finally able to get a dozen of eggs. So it hasn't changed a whole lot.
I've been out of work now for 2 months. And I agree. I am very, very anxious about that part of our economy. Very, very concerned. And it doesn't seem to be getting fixed.
We're kind of in a crisis as it is right now, like a recession. And to throw some extra stuff at us is just it's just not good. It's not smart. And I feel like with him being the businessman that he is, he knows better than this. He knows better.
What extra stuff are you referring to being thrown at you?
Just like the tariffs, the price, just making everything go up and just putting the extra stress, on allies, and it's just ugly.
I just feel like since he's come into office, we haven't really got a grasp on everything that's happening economically, as far as like our inflation and like everyday families struggling just to keep up with everyday daily needs, like groceries, for example. I just feel like are out of control, and he has not really done much to address that. He's so focused on the other things that are going on, like specifically like ICE, that we're missing the point with what's going on with just our average people, and that's really making people nervous about how they're going to survive for the next few years if it keeps going up and up and up.
With all the concern about affordability these days, I wanted to understand what their greatest pain point is. So I posed the following question. Of all the things that are unaffordable these days, the thing I'm most troubled about being unaffordable is what?
I would say housing.
Groceries.
I think maybe housing.
Groceries.
I'm going to say groceries too.
Groceries.
Healthcare.
Groceries.
Housing.
Housing.
Healthcare.
Cars and transportation.
When I asked what steps they want the president and Congress to take to address the affordability question, they said this.
We need to lower the interest rate. We need to make, be able to have first-time home buyers.
I want them to stop spending all the money on foreign wars and things we don't need.
Make the Affordable Care Act permanent.
Lower the
President,
cost of food.
how do you want President Trump and Congress to do that?
Well, they enforce the laws. They try to, mandate so that they can start pushing for different, laws and stuff so that they can actually cut the cost. Stop spending all our money.
I mean, I would say cut the tariffs. That's still an ongoing thing. I believe there were just some new tariffs that launched maybe a week or so ago.
I would say, instead of giving all these countries that hate us all this money, to put monies into programs for housing, maybe for, help out with mortgage rates and, first-time home buyers, things like that.
President Trump made 2 announcements regarding affordability that were favorably received by most Arizona swing voters we interviewed. The first is a push by President Trump to ban large institutional investors from buying more single-family homes. 12 of the 14 support that effort. 7 said they had heard about it before the session.
If a corporation can't buy the house, then it leaves it here potentially available for any one of us.
Because the big corporations don't need to be buying single family homes. They buy like large clusters of homes and then they force everybody out and then they price them way too high and nobody can buy them.
Here in Tucson, we've seen a lot of large corporations buying up whole neighborhoods and blocks and areas of homes. And it's become such a problem that they're pushing rent prices up to the point where people can't even afford a cheap apartment in a big building with lots of other people all over them.
The other action they support is the creation of the Trump RX website. 8 of them said they had heard about it before the session. We took respondents through the homepage, the frequently asked questions, and the information about a specific medicine in the website's database. Afterwards, 9 of the 14 said they would try Trump RX or recommend it to others.
If it's more affordable than what's being offered through the insurance with how crazy prices are for everything, why not offer it as a recommendation for those that can't afford it any other way?
If my insurance didn't cover something and I can get a discount on it, I would definitely use it.
While these Arizona swing voters value the president's attempts to alleviate their economic concerns, their pressing issues with ICE colored their overall view of President Trump. 4 respondents approve of his performance in office so far, while 10 disapprove. And 4 say they personally know die-hard Trump voters whose support is wavering. Here's an exchange with one of those 4. Canal, tell me what you heard and how long ago you heard it.
I heard it as recently as yesterday. In fact, I'm in an active fight with one of my best friends right now regarding this, but I've been attending a gay Republican group here based in Phoenix, and the support for that group has dwindled from 100 people convening at least once a month down to about a strong 18, and of those 18, almost half of those folks are completely divorcing themselves from anything related to Trump.
And you would describe those 100 when it started out as all strong Trump supporters?
I mean, strong Trump supporters in terms of took this chapter from being nothing what it was 10 years ago to an active membership of 100 people that showed up every month, year on year in support and were elated through all of the years that Trump's been in office. So yeah, it's interesting to watch socially.
Thanks for joining us again this month. Please forward this link to a friend, and please join us again next month.